Chicago Bulls offseason news, rumors, trades, and free agent signings. So my apologies for not doing a Chicago Bulls related video recently. There just really hasn't been anything to talk about. I guess I could have done a video on the front office executive changes the Bulls made, but it didn't affect the Reinsdorfs, Arturas Karnisovas, or Mark Eversley. And after those people, I don't think the fan base cares, let alone knows really who's in those positions. Maybe a few of them, like John Paxson, is still tied to the organization. I can't remember what his official title is. But I didn't do that video because I don't really know the positions myself. So my apologies. I still want to do weekly Chicago Bulls related content. And with that in mind, if you have some suggestions that you want to hear me talk about, please leave those suggestions in the comments section. Or if you want to message me on Instagram, I'll leave my Instagram username in the description. Send me a message on Instagram. You can follow me. I'll follow you back. It's going to be JDEV27, so JDev27 with no hyphen. Send me any suggestions that you have. I've done other Chicago Bulls related videos, but they don't get any views. So whatever you guys want to see, I'll do a video on it. I just need to know. So please send me your suggestions or video recommendations. And then there is some Bulls news. Although it's news we already knew, but the news became official today. The Bulls did announce the signing of Goran Dragic to that one-year deal, which leaves them about $1.7 million away from the luxury tax to give us extra depth because we don't know really what's going on with Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo's going to be healthy. Now, does he remain healthy? I don't know. He'll probably miss 20 games. I just assume he'll miss 20 games. But I think he starts the season as our starter in the starting lineup. And then, of course, what's going to happen with Coby White? I thought by now he would be traded. It sounds like we might wait to the trade deadline to ship him somewhere. I think that's waiting too long. But if we have a lot of injuries in the backcourt, we may need Coby White. Now, there's a guy that is rumored to sign with the Boston Celtics very soon if he hasn't officially done so already, which I think, thinking about it, like Arturas and Mark Eversley should have took a look at this guy again. They acquired him in a trade a few years ago, and then they actually signed him as a free agent a year later and then released him because he got COVID, and that would be Noah Vonleh. I think he would be a great backup power forward for us because, I mean, he doesn't really have to do much, but if he has to be put in a position where he has to play big minutes, I think he can do that. If Patrick Williams, and let's hope this doesn't happen, but if he has another freak injury where he misses an extended period of time, what does that leave us with? Javonte Green and Derrick Jones Jr. and an unproven Justin Lewis, who, you know, he's a two-way guy. I would much rather have a guy like Noah Vonleh ready to go. He can fill in some big minutes, but they didn't look at him again. Sounds like he's going to Boston anyway, but it's just a suggestion because I really want us to get another power forward for that specific reason. But, you know, with the uncertainty of Lonzo Ball and the potential trade of Coby White and Zach LaVine coming off of an injury, maybe having Goran Dragic is a very valuable piece, but he's old and I don't know what he can do. But he's going to be wearing number 7, which of course was previously worn by Tony Kukoc and Ben Gordon. I hope he can have great offense like Kukoc and drain threes like Ben Gordon. I guess Kukoc drained threes too. I really like Ben Gordon, actually. I know he's not super popular with some of the fan base because he had some mental issues, but he would be on my all-time Bulls team, depending on how many players I can have on that roster. If you can give me 15 players and two-way contracts, he would definitely be one of those guys because I just really like Ben Gordon. Even though he couldn't play a lick of defense, he was money in the fourth quarter, just like DeMar DeRozan. So that is the Chicago Bulls news. Dragic has signed officially. And then there's one other thing I want to talk about, and this is going to be the take up the most of the video, and that would be who so far has won the trade between the Chicago Bulls and the Orlando Magic. We know at the trade deadline over a season ago, the Bulls traded Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., their 2023 first round pick and their 2025 first round pick. I'm sorry, their 2021 first round pick and their 2023 first round pick, which one of those players turned out to be Franz Wagner, to the Magic for Nikola Vucevic and Al-Farouq Amino. Now, a lot of people say the Magic won that deal. And it's very possible that they will win that deal in the long run. But you have to think of all the factors. If you look at Vucevic versus Wendell Carter Jr., Vucevic is putting up better numbers than Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell, you would think he's better defensively than Vooch, but looking at the stats, I mean, he averages what? Okay, I'm just looking at last season. 10.5 rebounds per game, 0.6 steals, so we'll round that up to 1 steal a game, and almost a block per game. Those are the key stats that I want to focus on. Vooch got 11 rebounds per game, a little over 3 steals, and 1 block per game. So Vooch actually is better at those numbers, and he's more durable than Wendell Carter Jr. This talk of Wendell would be better than Vooch is, I don't think it's really warranted. Plus, we don't know what happens with DeMar DeRozan if the Bulls don't have Nikola Vucevic. Does DeMar DeRozan come to the Bulls if we don't have Vooch? So, let's say we have Zach LaVine. Offseason begins. We tamper and get Lonzo Ball. Then, that leaves us with guys like Thaddeus Young, Tomas Satoransky, Wendell Carter Jr., all these other players. Would the Bulls be able to acquire DeMar DeRozan at that point in time? Because he wanted to come to Chicago, and that's why the sign and trade was worked out, because he really wanted to be a Bull. And I don't know for sure if he comes to the Bulls if we don't have Vucevic. Now, the Magic did get Franz Wagner in the 2021 draft, and he looked really good. He was really good on offense. Around that pick, guys that I would possibly want, and it's not necessarily guys that I'd want, but there's a forward that I wouldn't mind, Jonathan Kuminga, that's on the Warriors, but he hasn't really done a lot in the NBA yet. But he was picked the spot before the Bulls would have selected, so there's no guarantees that we would have picked him. And the rest of the guys in the first round are kind of It's Evan Mobley obviously would be the number 1 player that I would want in that draft. If the Bulls could get Evan Mobley, sign me up for Evan Mobley, but they didn't. But it doesn't feel like we lost that pick, because in our second round pick was Ayo Dosunmu, I should say Ayo Dosunmu, who's been phenomenal thus far, and people are expecting big things from Ayo in his second season. Let's hope there's not a sophomore slump with Ayo. So it doesn't feel like we actually lost that draft pick, and then we don't have a pick in 2023, at least our pick. As it stands right now, we may or may not have Portland's pick, depending on if it's in the lottery or not. If it's in the lottery, we don't get it, because their pick that they sent us is lottery protected till like 2028. Why would you need that much time as a protection? Like, why would you agree to that trade? I don't like that. So I think just by getting DeRozan and having Vucevic on the team to have DeRozan come over, I think the Bulls won that trade. Now, the other factors in the trade, you've got Otto Porter Jr. and Al-Farouq Amino. Okay, Otto Porter Jr. is way better than him, but he was always hurt with the Bulls, and he was kind of a hothead. I like Otto Porter Jr. I thought when the Bulls acquired him in the trade for Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis, well, while I liked Bobby Portis, I was really excited about Otto Porter Jr. becoming a Bull, because I thought he's going to be a great 3-and-D player for us. Like, he's going to lock down LeBron James and do a whole bunch of other things. And, he had glimpses of it initially, but then he got hurt and he just wasn't the same player. But he went to the Warriors on a 1-year deal. So I'm only kind of talking about the guys that stayed on the teams, Vooch versus Wendell Carter Jr. And Otto Porter Jr. won a championship with the Golden State Warriors, and now he signed with the Toronto Raptors in the offseason. So I really do think the Bulls have won that deal, and I think Vooch is going to have a better year this year than he did last year, especially if he can get his percentages up. If he can get that 3-point percentage from a little over 31% to like 34, 35%, especially if the team stays relatively healthy and doesn't have a bunch of players missing games due to COVID protocols, and we don't have injuries like Levine, Lonzo Ball, or Alex Caruso, I think there's a chance that Vooch could have much better numbers this year for his percentages than he did last year, shooting about 31%, 31.4%. So there is my take on that deal. I know it's kind of an unpopular opinion. It seems like a lot of Bulls fans think that the Bulls lost that deal because they gave up Wendell Carter Jr. But if you look at his stats, I mean, it's an improvement over what he did with the Bulls. You know, the points per game were the Warriors. The whole season was 15. He shot about 50, almost 53% from the field, almost 33% from the three-point line, almost 11 rebounds, the 2.8 assists, almost 3 assists a game, almost a steal and almost a block. With the Bulls, you know, he had more points, a little bit worse field goal percentage, a lot better three-point percentage, at least in 2020. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm looking at the Magic 2020 numbers. Let me look at the Bulls 2020 numbers. So he scored more points in both cases. Better field goal percentage last year. In 2020, it was slightly worse. His three-point percentage with the Bulls in 2020 was actually almost 30, a little over 36%, and it was almost 33%. So I really think the Bulls win that deal. Who knows who the Magic are going to pick in 2023? I assume that pick will be a very late first-round pick. I think it's going to be 24th pick, somewhere around 24. I think the Bulls are going to be better than they were last year, especially if their health is not that much of an issue. I mean, you always can count on injuries. So I've already predicted that Lonzo Ball will miss 20 games. Alex Caruso will probably miss 10 games at least. And that's where I'm at with injuries at this moment right now. But I think the Bulls are primed for a really good season. And I think they will be the winners of this trade when it's all said and done, because Vooch is going to get us to the Eastern Conference Finals. I really do think that this year. I know that's a hot take, but hey, what is this video? Why am I doing this video? I gotta make you your jaws drop for that. So I'm done rambling because I've rambled long enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I mean, if you're a Bulls fan and you like my Chicago Bulls related content when I do it, and remember to give me suggestions of things you think I should do during these times where there's not much going on, and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, consider smashing that like button. Share the video with whomever you want. Sound off with your thoughts in the comment section. And last but certainly not least, you're watching the video anyway, so don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.